Okay. Tier list is saved.
You
Closed.
missed all his lines.
Oh, stream pause is still on my screen. Shadows minimize the
Oh,
application.
oh.
Sit tight.
I forgot. That's the one thing I forgot to switch which, change windows. Can you see now?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I missed him screaming? Like, what
Yeah.
animation did he have?
As usual.
Oh, like his, like,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
Well, he looks
I
like
thought
he
he was,
got, like, shot or something.
yeah.
I can actually reload. Here.
Did you save?
Just reload from... We just started.
Okay, just want to make sure. That's new. I hadn't seen that before.
Oh, I had it?
When he
Okay.
pulls back like that, no.
It's finally open, isn't it? Pandora's box. The great Van Zeek's family. They've been thoroughbreds of the British judiciary for years.
And Lord Cliff Van Zeeks, he was a paragon of justice in the capital.
But he is actually a mass murderer, a perpetrator of atrocities and violence of nature.
If the general public ever finds out, line order in this country, blah blah blah. My brother. Oh, this is too awful. Poor Lord Van Zeeks.
I wonder, though, did you never suspect?
Mr. Naruto.
Lord Brooke Van Zeeks is a brilliant prosecutor. Is it conceivable that he didn't realize what his older brother really was? Order, order, order in the court. Lord Van Zeeks. The professor made use of an enormous hound as his murder weapon. Tell me, did your brother own a dog?
Yes, he did. Balmung. Is that the name of a demon? He was a well-known hunting
so.
dog. People called him a giant.
I think that's a demon, yeah.
I don't believe this. When my brother would go hunting in the forest of the grounds behind the house, he always took Balmung. After Clint's death, the creature passed away too, almost as if he were following his master. He was a magnificent hunting dog, worthy of a jewel-studded collar around his neck.
A jewel-studded collar?
That's right, though sadly, some years ago now, I was stolen by a thief who broke into the house one night.
Hey there, Shady. Named his dog after the sword that killed Fafnir. Oh, it's the sword that killed Fafnir.
Ah.
A jewel-studded collar stolen by a thief. So happens that myself and my colleagues have come across such a collar during our time in London.
How could you? There's an old emblem attached to the collar too, made of pure gold. It was topped with a small crown and it bore an ornate capital letter B. What? An emblem bearing the initial B? Deja vu! Oh my, you know it! It's the insignia of the Baskerville family.
What? The Baskerville? Why is that name coming up now?
Baskerville is the family name of my late brother's widow. That pure gold emblem was an heirloom which Clint acquired upon their marriage. There could be no doubt that the collar you've described was Balmung's. The family insignia of Lord Clint Von Zeek's widow.
There was a considerable amount of blood on the collar when we saw it. Since we know the dog was used for hunting, it could have been from its quarry, of course.
But it could equally have been from human prey.
So it is true, then.
Clint Von Zieks really was the professor.
Impossible! The Japanese are making up to exonerate their own.
So, in fact, the person responsible for the murders of nobles and royals was a noble himself. That threatened to be an enormous scandal that would irrevocably destabilize British society.
My father knew that, and was using it to negotiate his way out of the unjust charges brought against him. At the very last hour, those he'd bargained with betrayed him, slaying him mercilessly on foreign soil.
Well, can you deny it, Lord Strongheart? 10 years have passed, and still now the 6 million inhabitants of our great capital rest easy, believing that justice was done. That, though his anonymity remains, the diabolical murderer was caught and executed. Very well, then. You may have the truth.
But they were executed regardless. Unless... Tell me then. Tell me what Clint really was.
Lord Clint Van Zieks was too pure of heart. When he became a prosecutor and went in pursuit of the black roots of crime, he drove himself into a corner. He came to the unfortunate realization that to fight the most fiendish of criminals requires one to become even more fiendish oneself.
Clint.
The 19th century was a truly miraculous 100 years for Great Britain, and indeed the whole world. New industry, new technology, and with the birth of the Metropolitan Police Service, new law and order. But these dazzling new developments meant ever deeper shadows were cast on society. Water sullied by factories, air thick with noxious fumes, and crime growing daily to fill the darkness. Clint Van Zieks made it his mission to combat that darkness. But as time went on, it slowly ate at his soul, until eventually he was consumed. It's ironic, really, and somewhat surprising that the truth has once again been unearthed. By a Japanese.
Once again? What do you mean?
10 years ago, your father, Genshin Asogi, turned up at my office one night. The professor?
Yes. Beyond all shadow of a doubt, you must issue a warrant to search his home at once.
Don't be absurd. Man comes from one of our country's most illustrious families. He's a paragon of justice here in the capital.
Yes, that's the point. That's why none of you British can see it. He's using his noble status as a diversion while he commits these atrocious crimes behind the scenes.
Do you have evidence?
Nothing definitive as yet. But he keeps an enormous savage hound on the estate. We need the full support of the judiciary for this. We're up against a member of the aristocracy.
So a large family estate has a fierce guard dog. You should know that's commonplace here in Britain. I'm sorry, but I can't possibly put Scotland Yard onto this based on the tenuous accusation of a visiting student. So I turned down Asogi's plea, and as a result, he took it upon himself to visit the Venzeek's mansion on his own. We can only imagine now what happened between the two men. Though we know the outcome, of course. Lord Clint Venzeek's perished.
I don't believe this. So, in actual fact, Cosmos, my father's did.
He made the late Lord Venzeek's meet the same fate. He put a permanent end to the professor killings by taking the drastic measure of ending the perpetrator's life. As soon as I heard, I hurried to the mansion. When I arrived, it was easy to grasp what had happened.
And what about the will?
The Sogi must have already taken it. Nothing of that nature was found at the scene. We had no idea of the existence of such a document at that time. I was the only person who knew of the true identity of the professor. So I resolved to keep it a secret and to guard the secret to the bitter end. So you're admitting to it, that you were behind it all?
It was you, then, who pinned the crimes on my father.
I did what needed to be done in order to protect the law and order of the British Empire. Even if that meant employing an unforgivable ruse. Then it was you who arranged this fabricated evidence. I ordered that detective to take care of it, whilst keeping the truth from him, naturally.
Gregson?
Obviously, he opposed me at first. Oh yeah, Firaka, we can't do something like that. There was no question that it was Asogi who murdered Lord Venzeek's. The house staff have made statements that they saw the man running from the mansion that night. Yes, well, I've no doubt it was that Japanese fella. We haven't got a shred of conclusive evidence against the man. And worse than that, he doesn't keep a dog, so we're short of a murder weapon to boot. And we're short on time, Gregson. Let's put a stop to the man's rampage for the good of the country. So we'll use whatever means necessary to make myself clear, detective. Blimey.
So that night, 10 years ago, when I was attacked by those thugs in the back streets, and Genshin's ring was taken, that was him, was it? Was Gregson and some hired help? Then the detective handed the stolen ring to Dr. Wilson, who feigned its discovery from the victim's stomach during the autopsy.
And in the light of that decisive evidence, Mr. Asogi was found guilty of the charges brought against him. However, behind the scenes, he had actually already struck a deal with his accusers, in which he agreed to silently accept the charges.
But I just don't believe that part. As far as I knew the man, my father despised such underhand dealings.
It was extremely easy to make him comply. You see, he had one crippling weakness.
What weakness? Fish and chips.
Isn't it obvious? You, Kazuma Asogi. He smiles as he says that.
Me?
Perhaps you have no desire to return to your homeland, Asogi.
What?
Though I hear you have a 14-year-old son. Agree to cooperate and accept your guilt without contention, and you will see Japan and your son again.
You scoundrel!
Whether you choose wisely or not, it will be a closed trial by order of Her Majesty. So whatever rash claims you may make in court will have no trouble stifling them. There's only one outcome for you, Asogi. The gallows.
Don't forget that I still have that weapon at my disposal. Document revealing a truth, and I know you're desperate to keep hidden.
Yes, it hadn't escaped my mind, which is the only reason I'm willing to bargain with you. I only want to protect this country's law and order, you understand. So, what's it to be, Asogi?
Kazuma. He did it for me.
And as I told him at the time, my motive was simply to protect Britain from the damage the truth would do. To protect this country's law and order at any cost.
I've never dared let myself even consider this possibility until now. But in the light of all this treachery, I have to ask. The mastermind behind the Reaper of the Bailey. Was it you, Lord Male Strongheart?
Rather brilliant idea, wouldn't you say, Lord Baroque von Zeeks? That the spirit of your late brother, that paragon of justice, should return to reap justice for his sibling.
What a psychopath.
Could there be a more appetizing tale for London's masses, I ask you?
What's brazen?
It's not nice to call his brother a psychopath.
Strongheart's a psychopath.
I knew that you'd play the part to perfection, but your role really wasn't that of some embodiment of death. No, you were London's guardian angel.
An angel with bloody hands? I think not.
Those who had cooperated with me already were only too happy to participate in my plan. Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson. My minions worked tirelessly to ensure that the finger of guilt could never come to rest on you. It's all thanks to them that you were exalted as the demigod the Reaper became.
Insane.
In the membrane?
Wild. But Dr. Wilson left Britain 4 years ago when he was invited to work in Japan.
That's right. So I had to employ the services of his young protege after that. Dr. Courtney Scythe. Dr. Scythe? So what would the execution of the professor and the subsequent reign of the Reaper of the Bailey have successfully safeguarded law and order in our mighty capital for the past decade?
Oh my gosh.
That is everything. Shitty's not surprised, dude looked like a villain.
Yeah, but where does this leave us? What even is this case about anymore?
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, I do hereby confess, it was I who sired the concept of the Reaper. However, let me say in my defense, it was all for the preservation of law and order across the entire empire.
Like,
Lord Strongheart did it?
an unforgivable collection of crimes, but still.
All those who died at the Reaper's hand are rotten to the core anyway.
If it was only out of keeping London safe.
There is no one left now who can reveal the precise truth of what happened 10 years ago. Therefore, this trial can go no further. Now, I would like to entreat all those present. Beyond these four walls, nobody need know the truth. Even Her Majesty must be protected from this. I trust you all appreciate the importance of my request. It is, of course, for the good of the country. Shady said he's T-posing for dominance and it's working.
He really is.
Can he do this?
Is he allowed?
Can the trial really end now?
Yeah, he's technically allowed. I have one last question. For the accused, Lord Van Zeeks. What? Of course, I know that you're a highly accomplished prosecutor. So I find it hard to believe that you didn't have any doubts at all. That you never suspected your older brother.
Yes, the same thought occurred to me.
It was only once, but yes, I couldn't say that I'd never had my doubts. My brother's sense of justice was extremely strong, perhaps too strong, I observed. At that time, there were members of the aristocracy who were bleeding the country dry for their own gain. And since there were nobles, they were untouchable. For my brother, it was a source of great turmoil.
And coincidentally, at the time, the professor began his terrifying reign.
During the time of the professor killings, my brother did not appear to be himself.
And that made you suspect?
Yes. But it was only once, not more.
Only once? Really?
Clint wasn't the culprit. That was my conclusion at the time. And whilst I believe that now, and I still believe that now.
Do you have any evidence to support that idea?
The third victim was the Lord Chief Justice at the time. It was he who had recognized my brother's potential and trained him as a prosecutor. No matter what the circumstances, it's unthinkable that my brother could have been Tor.
That will do. Neither Clint Van Zeeks nor Genshin Asogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. But there are only two extant pieces of evidence from the time. The woebegone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Asogi, and the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left behind by the man. The wretched truth of what happened is exactly as I have explained. Later today, I'll present myself at the Ministry of Justice for whatever sanction is deemed appropriate. That is all. Court is adjourned. Shady said he didn't kill that guy. It was a copycat. Maybe Mal did that one.
Court is adjourned. It's too late.
Shady said he wanted to move past that fast, it feels like. Thank you, Kazuma.
Me?
If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made this 11th hour discovery.
Oh, awfully convenient. What discovery?
My lord, I'm afraid I must insist the trial continues.
Oh my god.
I beg your pardon. Is the
Let
court...
it go.
Let it go? What do you mean? The court had been reminded today already. We must stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth. And to that end, One particular statement made by somebody in this courtroom moments ago revealed a very subtle contradiction. What contradiction?
But all I did was ask the accused one simple question. Well, it began with Lord Von Zieks and his recollection about his brother. But Lord Strongheart didn't permit the defendant to speak at length.
I merely pointed out that we can draw no further useful conclusions here, so where on earth is the contradiction? One of them definitely just said something contradictory. It's time to identify who.
Oh, Lord.
Lord? You think it was Lord? Which Lord?
Man. I don't know. It threw me off. I thought we were done.
You thought we were done? Why would I have ended it last time with that?
Well, because of the credits and all the after cross-examination.
No, that's why I said we're going to be going well past 8.
Man. Strongheart. No. Von Zieks.
Van Zieks, final answer?
Yeah.
It was Lord Van Zieks, I'm sure of it. Something about what he said was just a little jarring. Come on, Renosuke, go over it again, find it.
Clint wasn't the culprit. That was my conclusion at the time. Third victim was the Lord Chief Justice at the time. He who had recognized my brother's potential and trained him as a prosecutor. No matter what the circumstances, it's unthinkable that my brother could have killed his friend in revenge.
Lord Van Zieks, would you care to explain?
What exactly am I supposed to make of those pitiful Nipponese eyes?
When you were recounting the information about your brother and the third victim just now, something you said was inconsistent with a certain piece of evidence we have. Inconsistent. And even though that inconsistency arose from words out of the defendant's mouth, we have a duty here to pursue an explanation. Oh, thank you for the follow.
What are you playing at?
Failed to see the defense's intention here, but clearly the court cannot ignore this new development. What evidence is inconsistent with the defendant's words? Hey, 3-Up, welcome.
Welcome. Go back.
Fake Pokemon fact for Mew? Mew actually is a clone of Mewtwo. That's it, that's the fact.
I was gonna say Mew's based off of a placenta.
No, that's true.
That's
Mew is
Pokemon
based off
True.
of Mewtwo, and just Mew escaped. And so they tried to, as a conspiracy theory, make it seem like Mewtwo was the clone. That they never had Mew.
Isn't it in Guam that Mew was found?
Yeah, real world Guam.
Yeah. Mew was found in real life Guam. That's not a fake fact. That's genuine.
Yeah, I
Canon.
saw it.
You were in Guam at the time?
I was there. It
Go to the
was
third screen.
60 years ago.
60. I don't think that math adds up, buddy. Go to the third screen, please.
3-Ups and Mew is actually just a leftover from a failed experiment to clone a Lickitung. Just the tongue.
What evidence is inconsistent?
Let me know if you need a hint.
Yeah, please.
You picked the wrong person.
Oh, then go back. What are you doing? What are you doing?
What do I do? You picked it.
Well, yeah, but like you're gonna leave us on this donkey chase?
Until you ask for help.
Fair.
It was Lord Strongheart, I'm sure of it. Something he said was slightly off. Come on, Ryunosuke. Think back to his words.
They really
Find the
make
problem.
you think that it was right.
I'm just kidding. It was. Venzeek. Neither Clint Van Zeeks nor Genshin Asoki still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. There are only two extant pieces of evidence from the time. The woebegone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Asogi, and the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left behind by the man. Lord Strongheart, would you care to explain? Explain what, Counsel? Among the statements you made just a few moments ago, something you said was inconsistent with a certain piece of evidence we have. Inconsistent? And whilst an inconsistency remains, the defense has the right to pursue an explanation.
Ryunosuke, what?
Let me warn you about the statements you are making, Counsel. They may very well prove fatal. You claim my words contained a contradiction. With which piece of evidence, I ask you?
Is it the autopsy report? It's the one that says that the last will and testament Clint wrote was in red ink.
We have nothing that says that.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do. We don't have Genshin doing it in red. We have Clint doing it in red.
No, we
So-
just have. He has red on his hand. That's all we have.
Oh, really? I did it again?
Yeah, you keep thinking that there's something in red. It just says that he had red ink found on his right hand, but no document of corresponding ink was
Yeah,
found.
it's still that one, right?
Is that one?
Present it.
Not before I save.
Or is it the will that's in black ink that is Genshin's, the Asogi papers?
Dear me, oh, this evidence makes it very clear indeed. There is no contradiction with either the defendant or myself, naturally. No, the contradiction here lies squarely with you, Counsel. Ugh.
I have the distinct impression that permitting you to advocate for me was a mistake of my life. And don't you dare show your face again at my door once this trial is over.
It's going to be very lonely around the Naruhodo dinner table in the future.
Not as long as I'm alive, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sure we need only think again to fix the situation.
Oh, my, Mrs. Sato, yes, of course. Yeah, Shady, damn, I love that reaction.
Well, it began
Don't
with
even
Lord
show your
Strongheart
face.
Lord Six and his revelation about his brother, but Lord Strongheart didn't permit the defendant to speak at length.
I merely pointed out.
Oh, this is all repeat stuff. Is it the Asogi papers?
What about them?
They're in black ink.
Did he say anything about the ink color?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Three
are in
page
black
red.
ink. That's not a contradiction. He said they're in black ink.
The woebegone ring that acted as incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Asogi, and the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left behind by the man. Yeah, there's. What about those statements are contradictions? That the Asogi paper is only 2 pages. We know that there's a 3rd page. Is that it? Present that.
Do we know that there's a third page?
We established that there's a missing 3rd page. Yeah. I guess that's what
I
they
didn't
want
think
us to
they
say
did.
anyway.
I didn't think they established that at this point.
Yeah, we were like, in game, the characters were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's no information here that would be a weapon. What's the weapon? And it's like, oh, it's incriminating evidence.
This here is the will left behind by Mr. Asogi.
It feels tangential.
Yeah, but they were talking about the red ink document that was the weapon. It's been a week. I think you're a little confused.
Topsy-turvy.
The 2-paged will.
Manomar's hidden move.
What? Yet moments ago, your precise words were the 3-page last will and testament.
Ah,
Could it be that originally there was a 3rd page? For a moment, I thought perhaps you identified something worthwhile, but it's a mere trifle, I see. trifle? Governor Caden. Eh, what can I do you for, sir? You're present when the Japanese man penned his last will and testament. Aye, I was there for sure. I remember the black wear 'em like squirrels to this day. And I'm quite certain, my lord, that there was a third page at the time.
What? What?
Only the first 2 pages were the actual will, though. If I mind correctly, the third was a message to his lad back in Japan. For legal purposes, we required only his will. And we wouldn't have wanted any uncomfortable words about Britain to get back to Japan, eh? So it was decided that the third page oughtn't to be sent.
How dare you make that decision? I had a right to know what it said, to hear my father's final words to me.
The courtroom is no place for sentimentality, counsel. As it happens, I have the third page of the document with me here now.
My father's message.
It will be given to you at the end of these proceedings. It'll be too late once the trial's over. We need to know what it says now. Even the slightest thing may give us a vital clue. My lord, the defense calls for Gen Shinosugi's last words to his son to be read out loud before the court now. Your request is denied. The inevitably maudlin words can be of no consequence now.
Prosecution agrees the court should know the contents of that message. Every possible piece of evidence must be thoroughly examined. The prosecution has already proven a conflict of interest and shouldn't be continuing to work.
Very well then, Governor Caden. You will read the page of the document, third page of the document, for all present to hear. Yes, sir. Only, I'd point out, my lord.
Can't read Japanese.
I can actually read a Wareham language.
This beautiful handwriting. Shame on you, Barry.
They're in first name.
This beautiful handwriting. Shame on you, Barry. If I could be of assistance here, I'd be happy to translate the words into English for the court.
Father!
You're still here, are you, Dr. Mikotoba? Naturally, I consider myself a member of the judiciary, albeit a lowly one. But perhaps I should quietly withdraw after I've translated Jensen's message. Your cooperation is much appreciated.
He's just interested.
Cosma, the truth is shrouded in darkness. Darkness only our clan's great sword can pierce. Mighty Karuma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. That's the end of the message, it would seem. Haiku poem. Twist thy head.
Father.
What is Karuma?
The name of the Asogi clan's famous sword.
So you think, Shady?
The razor-sharp blade known to all, passed down for generations, and embodies Japanese spirit. It's not known to me.
It's the katana sword that was submitted as evidence earlier in those proceedings. The one worn by the prosecution counsel when he confronted Inspector Gregson.
The one that I was wearing the entire time I was doing law in Japan, in England.
All these procrastinations are being to try my patience. Adjournment of this court is long overdue. As the presiding judge, I've been accommodating as possible the will of the courtroom. However, despite all that, no new information has come to light. In pursuit of justice, Lord Clint Van Zeek tragically lost all sense of morality. When he murdered his former mentor, clearly he was already devoid of his normal faculties.
How dare you! I refuse to believe that of my brother.
Too much time has passed. We cannot ever hope to know more than we do now. Especially since the alleged will that he penned in his final moments appears to have been lost forever.
Ugh.
Lord Strongheart. You appear to be in something of a hurry to wrap things up. I wonder why.
Because we've been doing this case for 8 hours at this point.
We've heard you state time and again during these proceedings that everything you did was in the interests of protecting British law and order. And I stand by that. Without the Reaper, we could never have achieved the reduction in crime the capital has seen. What about Inspector Gregson, then?
And Dr. Wilson. There were no criminals. You used it to achieve your ends, and then you had them killed.
However you dress it up, there is nothing fair or just about that. Lord Strongheart, what exactly is it you're trying to hide? Dr. Mikatoba, were you not to quietly withdraw after the translation of your former associate's will? In this courtroom, no argument carries weight unless it is supported by evidence. And it would seem that the defense has no more evidence to present. In which case, I hereby order all discourse from these proceedings to be struck from the record. Maybe, Shady? This is my last chance.
Mr. Naruto!
I have to present some decisive evidence now, or it's all over. But can I?
I mean, you have to present evidence now or it's all over, right?
We could take a look at our evidence to see if want to see if the
Yeah,
that haiku helps you.
yeah, sure.
Do you want to look at the haiku again, or?
Yeah.
Nothing?
I don't know. I'm trying to see if it's like the first letter of every word. Mighty, Kuruma.
We can examine other evidence too.
Twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal. Yeah, I mean, twist the head of the sword, I guess. Go back to the sword.
Which part?
The head of it?
Which
I don't know
part's the
what's
head?
the head of a sword. Is it the bottom of the sheath?
Bottom of the sheath?
Or is it the bottom? Nope. It's at the top of the handle. There we go.
Mighty Kuruma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. That's the proper way to use a sword, is it? Maybe I should try it. It hurts my neck, that's the trouble.
Mr. Naruto, if I might make a suggestion, I think perhaps it doesn't mean your head.
Oh,
He's just like, ugh. I once studied the history and development of the katana some time ago. And I'm sure you're probably aware the sword's head is part of the very end of the hilt. It is written as head in Japanese, but it's pronounced Kashira, I believe.
Kashira. So Mr. Sogi's words really mean twist the butt of the hilt. You don't think the head is the butt?
Ah, the head is the butt.
Look what's inside. Look
Is
what's
that-
inside the butt.
Is that another butt? In a tiny round sheet of parchment?
What else would be in a butt?
Oh,
Scarlet ink. It's written in scarlet ink. I pen this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. This is it, isn't it? Yep, Shady, it was worth the whole time.
Mr. Naruto, look at the signature in the end.
Clint Van Zeeks. And the date, 10 years ago on that fateful night.
So for 10 years, it's been silently concealed inside Kuruma and nobody knew. The last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeeks.
Wait. Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is unbelievable.
It's so unbelievable that we can't know about it.
Twist their head and
Oh.
watch them fall. Are they mortal foes? Kazuma's father certainly had a way with words.
And he certainly thought up of an ingenious hiding place, too. He's almost playful at first, but I do wonder if over the years, perhaps, the duties of the Asogi clan have actually called for such inventiveness.
Protecting great secrets, you mean? Those sort of duties. Well, I could believe that. Kazuma conducts himself like someone with the weight of his clan's long and noble history on his shoulders. Asogi Clan Appreciator achievement.
Ugh.
That's why I examined it a second time.
No, the will came up. Let's read the will.
Oh, did we get it as evidence?
Yeah, we got the will as evidence.
Oh, we can't.
Oh, we can't even. Then present it. Ugh.
Wait, my lord. As it happens, the defense does have evidence to present. What? Don't be absurd. There is nothing of relevance remaining from the time.
It's high time that you realize something, my lord. This gentleman has an uncanny habit of producing evidence at the final hour that had escaped everyone else's attention. That's like close to
Nonsense.
compliments we can get.
Isn't that also illegal? But okay.
What is it, Renosuke? What do you have?
I dare say, the final decisive piece of evidence that will reveal the whole truth about this rotten tale.
How can you?
Decisive. There is no escape here now, my lord.
Get out!
Let it be so then. Present whatever you think that you have that can settle this decade-old enigma, if you're capable. What exactly is evidence that the defense claims to be so decisive?
Can we examine it now? No.
No.
Just present it.
You can't know ahead of time.
I want to know.
The single piece of evidence that can clarify what really happened 10 years ago.
I want to know before the characters, so I can be pretentious about knowing that information and be upset that they still don't know that information. The last will and testament of Lord Cliff Van Zeeks.
Ha! A wonderfully astute observation, I'm sure. But in case it had escaped your notice, the document was lost long ago.
Chuckle.
Oh, right. That's right. It was, only
I just found it.
I have it right here. Discovered just moments ago. Impossible! That can't be! Everything that's happened comes back to this will. This document is the key that will unlock the entire mystery, and none of you will ever know where it came from. They don't even ask how he suddenly has it.
Renosuke, as the judge, I need to read it. Can you pass it to me? Oh, yeah, sure. He throws it into the fire. Oh, my hand slipped. my brother's last will and testament. Where did you find that?
He said, did he walk over and do that? Oh, yeah, that was on Kazuma's race? No, it was submitted as evidence. It was
But he did have it under his podium the entire time.
It was rolled up inside this.
Inside Karuma.
Inside his butt. The ultimate weapon Genshin Asogi obtained has lain undisturbed in the butt of the sword all these years. Just waiting for the right time to emerge and reveal the truth.
Ew, the badge from his butt.
The signature seal certainly looks official.
My God, it's true. It's my brother's handwriting. There can be no mistake.
Oh, the other two left.
I was gonna say, what happened to?
They're not relevant
the
anymore.
official?
I forbid the contents of that document from being read aloud. Do you hear me? I strictly forbid it.
Oops.
You can't do that, my lord. This document could explain everything. The document could literally destroy the meaning of justice in this country. I demand that you hand it to me at once. Why? What are you trying to hide?
Have you not read it?
Could it be that you already know what's written on this page? Ugh. What are you implying? Court is adjourned with immediate effect. Clear the courtroom.
Do that, my lord, and you'll suffer a fatal blow as Lord Chief Justice.
I beg your pardon.
Forcibly ending a trial without good reason, and not any trial. It was trial by her order of Her Majesty the Queen. To defy the monarch's will is treason.
Grrr. Lord Clint Van Zieks really did pen a will that day.
It's exactly as the Japanese man said.
Read it aloud now.
We have the right to know what's in the will, a right and a duty.
Well, my lord. It would rather appear as though proceedings aren't going to go quite as you'd hoped.
Get out.
You fools.
Eugen, you're not supposed to be here.
He doesn't care.
Go ahead, Runowski, read it. The prosecution gives its full support.
Very well then. No, for God's sake.
Dear.
No!
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts.
I'm doing his voice. I pen this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death.
I see you.
The hour is 11 p.m., and I sit at my writing desk in my office. My good friend Asogi stands at my shoulder. He has expressed his intent to invoke the dying ritual of the duel, that I may depart this world with honor. An honor which I am utterly undeserving. The Japanese are a truly merciful people. I, Clint Van Zieks, Lord of the Manor of the Van Zieks Estate, hereby confess to the following.
That's metal.
I am the killer who has been come to known in society as the Professor, guilty of 4 counts of murder. I will not here discourse the corruption rife among this aristocracy, which to me, as one of them, is so apparent. However, 6 months ago, I took the life of a member of the House of Lords, at the heart of the depravity. A demon who habitually sacrificed the common man to further his own interests, abusing his position of power. The law is impotent against such vile avarice. Only a fellow demon could rid society of this menace.
Could you imagine?
The demon was my quarry, upon whom I willingly set my great hound. But though I am a hunter of some experience, I am a poor felon, it seems. My guilt was at once recognized by another, and I became subject to his extortion. He held over me the threat of exposing my wicked crime to my beloved wife and brother. Under that threat, I have done this man's bidding for months now, killing those he demanded I kill. As I watched my former mentor perish before my eyes in the jaws of the hound I commanded, I realized that I had lost the last shred of decency within me, and sunk to the level of a wild beast. There is no path back to the light, be it I or my dear friend Asogi who dies this night. I am eternally damned. To my extortioner, Mal Strongheart, may you feel the jaws of the beast at your throat every time you swallow.
Metal. Wow.
And he smiled.
Listen.
So now we know. Yes, Clint Van Zeek was a murderer. But somebody was directing him and naming his victims. His extortioner, Lord Mal Strongheart. It was you!
And that doesn't really change much.
Strongheart, a moment ago, you claimed that the court had just heard what could destroy justice in this country. But you weren't trying to protect justice at all. All you're trying to do was conceal the secret of your true nature and the countless lives you sacrificed up till now.
It just didn't make sense to me. The third victim, the former Lord Chief Justice, was my brother's benefactor and a man of lofty principles. As I said, Clint had no possible reason to kill the man. But you did, didn't you, Lord Strongheart? To eliminate the man who stood between you and the office you set your sights on. So you used your own hunting dog, Lord Clint Von Zeeks, to take him down.
It had to be done. London's unsavory shadows are deep, and the arm of the law fails to reach their depths. Crime must be cut off at the roots, but the Lord Chief Justice at the time couldn't see that. He was weak. Lofty principles, you say. Tantamount to cowardice, if you ask me. Which is why I took his place, in order to fight the crime he was allowing to spread like wildfire.
By murdering the man.
The Reaper. The Professor. The name makes no difference. As I've explained countless times already, it was all done for the furtherance of law and order in London.
Are you going to legitimize the murder of my father now, too?
Ah, Genshin Asogi. Well, that was unfortunate. I had fully intended to send him back to Japan, as we'd agreed.
I don't believe you. It was you, wasn't it? You killed him.
No, it wasn't me who took your father's life. Then who? On the night following his mock execution, I went to Logate Cemetery at 3 in the morning with Jigoku. Judge Jigoku? There had to be a collaborator on the Japanese side to manage Asogi's treatment after his repatriation. Jigoku had fierce ambition, made him easy to manipulate. 10 years ago, after he'd stood trial for the destruction of the witness stand, I had words with him. When I told him the position of Minister of Foreign Affairs could be his, he couldn't agree fast enough. Shiro, you fool. As you know, Asogi escaped the prison in a closed casket and was subsequently interred. We intended to dig him out of his grave before he ran out of air. But sadly, all did not go to plan. There was an unexpected visitor to the cemetery with his own ideas about digging up graves. A man who witnessed what nobody was supposed to see. Enoch Drebber. Of course, I knew grave robbers frequented London cemeteries. But that grave on that particular night... Blast, if people find out the convict wasn't really executed, the scandal will rock the very foundation of the Empire. Then what do we do? Shoot him, Mr. Jigoku. Shoot Asogi at once. He can't live now this has happened. He has to go. What are you talking about? You had an agreement. You promised him he could return to Japan. Everything has changed now. The truth got out because of this. Both of us would be finished. Forever. Come on, Jigoku, do it. Pull the trigger. Shoot! Jigoku shot Asogi from the shadows. The grave robber was so close the blood sprayed over his coat. He fled as fast as legs would carry him. Then Jigoku and I put Asogi's body back in the grave from which he'd just emerged. When I later learned to the waxwork modeler's presence at the scene as well, I made her swear to two things: never to remove the professor's mask, and never to speak of the events of that night. And with that, the secret was buried along with Hisogi's corpse. So, now you know what really happened in Logate Cemetery that night. Silence.